Welcome back. Here's where you left off. Spoilers ahead for chapters 38 through 45 of Armored Book 2, Sentinel by Mark Greaney. So we get to the end and we sort of get our Die Hard moment, but it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. And I enjoyed the fact that they had their big battle scene with Condor, but I think the thing that I was most interested in was the result of Khan. I felt like he was going to be involved more with the ending. And as we went through the chapters and got near the end, I was reading and I'm like, is Khan just going to slip away and be gone? And he kind of ended more like a footnote at the end of the book. But before I go there, Leonard, because I definitely want to talk about that, what did you think about the last two chapters here?
Well, so our last episode we speculated exactly what's going to happen. We did that. We always do. We always ask, what do you think was going to happen in the last few chapters? And if I remember correctly, we were going into it as in that it's going to split in two sections. One is the CIA guy is going to go after Khan and the others, and Duffy and Nikki is going to go after Condor with their kids. Right? That was our prediction. That was my prediction. And I think you agreed as well too. And when we started reading again, I was like, "Oh, I think I am wrong for the first time ever in my life about this." So it was. I did not expect how it ended and how it actually gone the way it is. I didn't want to say disappointed, but I was heartbroken. We did get our Die Hard, right?
What did you think about let me ask you a different question. What did you think about the Chinese girl? The tech girl?
She was actually very interesting because the last few chapters before going into this, there was already a thing about her being sick, right? And I have a feeling that her storyline changed slightly because at the beginning of the book, she was a soldier. She's not a soldier, but she was like a side character that makes a lot of sense because she supports Khan, she supports the mission. At this stage now, we found out more that why she's always sick, because Khan already said she might have malaria, she might have anything like that, right? And in my opinion, that was a very weird side comment because that sort of brings her into, okay, something might happen to her, but her being pregnant and had a very fast but very precise origin on her. For her being there and saving the kids, it's sort of like, hey, I need someone to save the kids, so let me write this in moment. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm kind of disappointed about because they made her more into your more prominent in the story in the last
it was like the last six chapters, maybe.
Yeah.
6 chapters. It was she was mentioned before as being the tech person going around. It was this hidden character that just suddenly shows up, suddenly is priggy, suddenly has to like have some morality or something like that, or have a moment of weakness or something like that. And I actually I really liked the moment where the daughter was like, when my daddy gets here, I'm going to tell him not to hurt you.
That was if you hear that, I'm like, okay, whatever. But still, for her being there, saving the kids, it's nice. But in my opinion, they can, I'm going to save this in my final book review. But it was nice to see that there's something there to help the kids, but in my opinion, they can go somewhere else to do that. But that's me. How about the?
Sorry, we had that fight scene between the two of them, which obviously was coming. It's interesting whenever we read fight scenes, and we've read so many of them now that I kind of wonder: is it a good fight scene? Is it a bad fight scene? The descriptive stuff. And I think this one overall was a good written fight scene because you need to get that moment in your brain. You have to follow the motions that are happening on the page, and you have to imagine the fight coming out and doing that. And sometimes my complaint about fight scenes is that you don't get a sense of time. In other words, was it 10 seconds? Was it 20 seconds? Was it whatever? I think you had a good sense of time in this fight. Do you agree?
I do agree. I do agree that there is some type of urgency in the fight itself. It was a nice, it was very well descripted fight. I agree with you. Fight scene has always been the hardest thing ever to write, or even to listen to, or even to read. Because if you watch this in TV, you have in TV you have a visual representation of the fight. If you're trying to write it or even read it, it's harder to describe a punch and how hard it is. Is it an uppercut or a lower cut, or is it a jab? So it's kind of hard to describe that. And the fight scene so far for this book is actually very good, because it felt like you are immersed into that fight itself, because you feel like you are Duffy, you feel like Condor, because it was well described enough and enough detail to experience the fight. And even the fighting and the dam itself, because we both agreed that was a very good scene. It was a very well written scene itself. So I'm not surprised how good this fight was. I was not surprised. I was not disappointed. It was kudos for Mark to write it that way, because it's such a well written scene. So I'm very happy with it. And at the same time too, it wasn't long or short. It was perfect length for a fight scene without getting bored, right? So that hopefully that answers that question. So
yeah, no, I did. I enjoyed it. I think you said all the points I wanted to touch on with it. When we're talking about the ending of the book, though, with those last few chapters, I think that I wanted to have more of the kids in it achieving stuff, because when she made that comment to her, you knew that she was going to be integral to the kids getting away. But you didn't have that moment where she's like, don't hurt the woman. It was more about the mother, Nicole, than anyone else, talking to the Chinese woman. And then she basically, if you think about it, she basically was part of the coup, but then she gets to go to America and have her kid there. So
yeah,
I want to say it like this. It feels like everything got wrapped up in like split second. It was just done. It was that moment where you get to the end of the episode and it was like they take the 30 seconds to wrap everything up, and you're like, you feel a little bit unfulfilled at that moment in the end. And we'll save that for the full book review, but I was wondering if you had that sense after you get down to like the last two chapters, if you're like, whoa, this is wrapping up real quick.
Yes, I do. I believe the last chapter is 48 before it goes to the epilogue. And I was, to be honest with you, Derek, the ending of the book before the epilogue was very disappointing. I was disappointed. I felt like
I also wanted to see more about the. I also wanted to see more of the sergeant guy from the dam. I wanted to see more of him near the end as well.
Nice. I agree with you, because at the end of the scene, the kids got rescued. Condor is dead. Condor is dead, and it went straight to the epilogue. The epilogue literally summarized exactly what happened to the kids, to the characters, to Khan, to the Duffys. It literally summarized everything. So I felt like that I can just read the epilogue and summarize the whole book, right? And I felt disappointed. I felt like the last chapter of the book was unfinished, and it just and he's trying to use the epilogue to tie everything up. And I was hoping, like, I read really good epilogues before. Like, they finished the book itself, they finished telling the story, but the epilogue is like 4 years later or a couple months later. It's sort of like, hey, this is an update of what happened to the character. And then I prefer that way. This one is more like, at the end, a week later, they're having a barbecue at the backyard, and everyone's showing up. Next thing you know, hey, we're here, we're going back to the US, the kids are fine, hey. That's how it felt like. It feels like I felt like the epilogue could be another chapter. Then they can have another. Then they can rebuild that epilogue. It just felt. I felt like it was taken away from me, from my enjoyment of reading the last few chapters, especially after the fight scene. There, the fight scene was amazing.
Yeah, it's funny. The fight, I mean, the fight scene was great there, and I didn't so much mind that we went afterwards. Leading up to the fight scene was a lot of Duffy going to the sergeant and be like, "Hey, man, I love it." He's like, "I'm not going to give you the guns, man. I'll give you street clothes, but I'm not going to." What the Marine's like, I can't give you the guns, but I'll give you a baton. It's like, seriously, dude, there's like crap happening everywhere. Give the man a gun.
Well, I kind of understand why the Marines will not give him weapons and he'll give them clothes. I'm okay with that logic. I'm okay with that because they can't use their own weapons because you can determine what the difference between U.S. Marines versus the mercenaries, right? The weapons are different, right? I understand using using the mercenaries' weapon because it feels like a little bit more the continuity of what they're trying to do makes sense. Right, if I'm in Duffy's Nicole's shoes as well, I'll do this exact the same thing, right? The baton things, you say, yeah, you can have the batons, you can have all this, but you can't have the weapons. Fine, that's not a problem, right? The one that sort of like, the one that I really questioned when they went to the tech services guy, say, hey, I need a tablet, right? Duffy got mad.
That was funny. That was
Duffy got mad.
It was like
Duffy got mad at this one. The guy did. Okay, you have to look at the perspective of the tech guy. The tech guy doesn't know who you are. The tech guy does not know what's actually happening. The tech guy is being a tech guy. If you've been to an IT department, you know what I'm talking about, right? Shout out to the IT friends, guys. But they're in their own world. Their goal is not to give the equipment away. They expect it to come back somewhat similar. If it's destroyed with a gunshot, then that's a you problem now, not me problem. I'm just letting you know.
That's a you problem.
Yeah.
I actually, it's funny that you mention it. I got to the end and in the epilogue, and I wanted the tech guy to be in there, be like, just as a sidebar, one sentence thing to come up and be like, hey, man, where's the laptop? He'd be like, oh, yeah, about that. I shot it. And he'd be like, what? Like,
I need you to sign this.
I need you to sign this. It was a good comic moment. Where I think he was going for a comic moment. It didn't really come across when I was reading it. But I totally get he was going for that, and I appreciate it. I just wish it would have been his epilogue a little bit. It would have been kind of fun.
That'd be cool, yeah.
And I always appreciate comedy in tense situations because it allows the reader to sort of take themselves out of the moment and remind them that, even in the most dire situations, there is sort of humor you could take out of it. And I like when writers do that. I personally think that really elevates a book a lot.
I agree. But let's go back to the IT guy again. When Duffy got mad and he's about to strangle this guy, I'm like, why are you mad? I understand you're mad and you want to get out of there. He's just doing his job and you're doing his job. That's when Nicole was there. It's like, don't worry about it. He's fine. He's just stressed, blah, 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 blah. And I love when he went to the sergeant's house and started shooting the tablet, right? And it's kind of funny though, because when he said he stepped back for about 20 feet and shot it, I'm like, after he said that, I was like, actually, that makes a lot of sense because if you go closer, the holes will be a lot bigger. Right? So it's like physics, right? So I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's a good detail. That was a very good detail. He did not shoot it close. He shot it far enough to simulate a shot from the distance, right? That makes a lot of sense. That's kind of detail that I really like to see because it felt real, right? And I agree with you with the epilogue. The IT guy should show up. It's like, hey, do you still have that tablet? Ha 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 ha. Yeah, that's a great laugh thing that needs to that would be nice to have.
That could have been like the last scene of the book, just to be like, leave the book off like. About that, and just like leave it there, as like the last line of the book or something like that.
It is the most cheesy thing ever, but it is the most best way to do it. Right?
It's fine. It's cheesy. Yeah, Mark. Here's our notes. These are our notes, Mark.
Thanks, you, Mark. So send us the royalties if you put that in next time, okay?
Just start off the next book with like the guy coming out, be like, I keep on getting emails from this guy saying, where the heck's the laptop? Like, just throw it in. Just do us a shout out. Put that in the next book, just as like a little note in the first.
Thank you for us. The guys from
so we know you. So we know you're listening to us. So you know you're listening to the podcast. We won't come out for any royalties. We waive all royalties. We just want to be in the book there for like 3 seconds for that. That'd be great.
My name is Leonard. Just saying.
Okay, make the tech guy Leonard. Okay, there you go. Because I don't think we heard what the guy's name was.
Make him funny and handsome. We're good to go, right?
Listen, we don't want to lie to people, Leonard.
I'm not lying. God, if you see my LinkedIn profile, I look like a superstar. So, but yeah. So, is there anything else in the last few chapters that you want to talk about? Because there was a lot of things that I do want to talk about, but I do want to wait for the final book.
Well,
review.
I think that we've sort of covered over the main points of the last few chapters. They weren't very long from a static point of view. I think the only other thing that I was going to mention was. My other question was about, and I can't remember the guy, the Houthi guy.
Oh, the professor.
The professor. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
The professor guy. He was like, I'm like, okay, you keep on. No, this is hang on. I want to make a point here. You keep on calling him professor. But he doesn't really act like that through the entire book. He doesn't really. Like, he's
an educated person that became a rebel / terrorist, right? So his goal was to take over the country, but unfortunately.
He was always the patsy, okay, and that's fine.
He's always been the patsy since the beginning. He was the original patsy for this book, right? And having the South African having the not missionary, but mercenaries to always be the person who's going to eliminate the rebels, because originally the general. Was supposed to be part of the coup to take over the country, right? That was the original plan, but the rebels, I think Khan sort of like overplayed his hands in this one, in my opinion. That when they walked into the Black Star area, they were getting defeated by the army itself, and the professor was hoping the mercenary will help them to defeat the Southern Army, right? And next thing, the Northern Army, the Central Army is supposed to go down and take over, right? That was the original plan. Because I did talk about this after the epilogue, because that plan makes a lot of sense. But when one guy ruins everything, and next year the mercenaries freaking out, it's sort of like Khan had to change his plans in a way that he wants to start eliminating people. So when the new AKA president who's going to take over, all his enemies have already been eliminated. So for him, sending a video to social media saying, I'm taking over, this whole area has been taken over already, so let's go proceed with this. It's sort of...
he's like, just send me a video of you claiming victory or whatever. The guy's like, if you're a professor and you're a smart man, you're wondering, like, why do you want me to do that? Oh, it's okay, just do it. Like, come on, have some sense here.
In the moment, I love the comments saying that I want to be with my troops. I want to be my troops. Khan's like, well, it's just full optics in this one now, right? You just want to say that so you can say, yeah, I fought with my soldiers. But at the end, it's like the army's coming. Grab your weapon, start fighting. And he was like, "Now it's your turn to fight. Go stand up with your man." He was like, "I really don't want to. I kind of like don't want to die."
Yeah, cowardice. Yeah, exactly. So I think we have lots of topics to talk about in the full book review. So I think we'll save the rest of it for that. And everyone, just join us next time for the full book review. Join us next time as we review Armored, Book 2, Sentinel by Mark Greaney. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share a review. We love to hear from you. Send us an email at yourbookmarksinfo@gmail.com. Join us again right here where you left off.